And then the other, that's the overdub. Okay, so Eugene's Trick Bag. What a classic, what a fun piece to play. For those of you who don't know, this is the last part of the duel between Eugene, played by Ralph Macchio, and Jack Butler, who's played by Steve Vai. Obviously, Steve Vai recorded this part and is based on the Capricci number 5 of Niccolò Paganini. So why am I doing this video? Well, it has recently showed up quite frequently on my feeds, both on Instagram and YouTube. And I've always, well, I knew somehow more or less how to play it, but not very well. And I've heard by the versions by Grace Bowens, then obviously Matteo Mancuso, a few others, and then came up this video by Paul Davids, and that got my attention because he was obviously working on building his studio, so he didn't have much time, but he dedicated like half an hour or so every day to work a little bit on the piece, and after 43 days or something like that, he recorded his version. Now, if you ask me, I don't know if you saw that, I think it was still sloppy. And not because he's a bad player, he's a great player, but had very good technique, very musical, very tasty player. But I believe he just played with the fingerings that were written, apparently reflecting the way that Steve Vai played it. Who knows if that's correct, but that's basically the point of this video. When you play a challenging piece, you always have to figure out what is the best way to play it. And this obviously, well, if you don't know, I'm also a classical guitar player, and we always do that on every piece. You need to find the best compromise between making the piece easy for you, but at the same time not lose any musicality. I mean, it has to sound really good. So sometimes that's the tricky balance. And obviously the guitar is an instrument that there are multiple ways of playing the same thing. I mean, you can have this note in here, in here, in here, in here. Sometimes you can play other notes using open strings or not. So it varies quite a lot. And basically that's what you need to find out. And everybody has a different technique also. Some are good picking every note with alternate picking, others are better playing with economy picking or sweep picking as they call it, etc. Some prefer to play in between strings. So well, I'll do this probably. If you imagine these are the strings, so you have the pick in between rather than from outside. So everyone is different. So some things will accommodate some players more than others, and that's what this is about. I will show the way I play, the way that works for me. And one of the things that I try to look for is to minimize large shifts on the left hand. So, for example, the arpeggio right at the beginning. I mean, nothing special about that. But the arpeggio, the A minor, there are multiple ways of doing, but my preferred way is I start with an open A bar, oh sorry, and then instead of going back in here, I do it in here. So, and always kind of a palm muting the lower strings. And the E major, so since I have the finger here, I just take advantage of the other position, hammer on, then open again, and then the D minor, which Paul Davies in particular was struggling with that a lot. Since I'm here, I put another open, and then a string skip. Instead of doing that, I do open B, and by playing these open strings, I have time to move my left hand and position it here. So right, that's the first part. So I mean, again, there are multiple ways of doing it. You can do the A minor starting that way, or you can do, and then the next chord you can do it right, or you can do it the way I did, etc. The A major, you can do it, or you can do it like I did, and so on. This one, the D minor, you could also do it, but then this bar is always tricky to make a clean sound, so that's why I prefer to use. Now if I go ascending, for me it's easier to do the bar thing because of the way I play. I play with the pick very close to the string, and when I do the next, this part of my thumb blocks the note, so I play the first string, and then when I do the next, I'm touching the other string, so I stop the string from keep ringing. That's what I do, and then I put the next. So going ascending is easy for me, but descending not so much. That's why I do the strings skip and pull off. All right, so well, the other thing I could also show is what if I play with without a pick, which is what I well, if you have seen my videos many times, I play without a pick. In this case, because of the palm muting on the lower strings, I would rather play, I will use my middle finger as a pick, right, something like that, because if I play with my fingers, it will not sound that clear, and not with the palm muting. I still can play, but so yeah, it doesn't sound as articulated and as clean. And then the next part, if I will do both with a pick and without a pick. The beginning with a pick is nothing different from what most folks do. So that's the same, but in the next one, when you change to A major, the same thing I just explained before. I prefer to do it. But if you play from the outside of the string, and then it's difficult to make a clear without sounding like that, right? You want a clear separation. You can do this. You can hammer on, and then the next string, and a pull off. So the same here. That's how I do it, but you can do it. Actually, this one works pretty well. When you are picking every note, so it sounds very articulated. And then the next part, this is the one that I do it differently. That's what is written everywhere, what the way most folks play, but I find it very awkward because the left hand is very awkward, and you have to skip 2 strings. There's another way, which is what I do. I go on the same string, and then you can do a pull off, and that gives you time while you play the first. So you position your pick to the first string, so you have to do a string skip. Another pull off, and that gives you time to position yourself here, and this in the left hand is way easier than the other one. So again, then everybody do it the same way. Now in here you can do it with well, the way everyone or the way Steve Vai does it. So you can also do it instead of going here, you do it. So it's just a 1 string skip. Right? And then when you jump, you can still do it the traditional way. Right? It's just that you have these big jumps, and you are exposing yourself to making a mistake. If you prefer to do it that way, the advantage is that you have a more consistent tone because you're picking the same strings all the time, but it's harder because of the changes. My advice would be for you to basically use your eye first before you actually pick the note, so where it needs to go. So if we do it in like slow motion, will be something like that. First look at the, as soon as you play the first, go to the next, and then you go to the, something like that, but obviously you do it very fast. That's the traditional. So it's doable, but risky in a way. Then another way, what you probably saw if you watched Matteo Mancuso play, is he did it, that's the way I prefer to do it with my without a pick, is this. So I do it, and then I do it with my ring finger, I play the open ear. Right? And the other, which is the one I did at the end in the video, is this one. So we do it now, the thing is that I prefer this one because something in between, because this one you have more string skip, even though sometimes I can use my and then I do my finger. But there are 2 problems there. The inconsistency in tone when you pick with your finger versus the pick. The pick is kind of have a more strong accent and brighter sound. And also in here I'm using a wound string, and they have a different tone than plain strings. So that's why I prefer to do it because I'm still playing using plain strings, not wound strings. But I avoid those huge shifts on the left hand. So it's to me, it's the perfect balance between consistency of tone and making easier to play. And well, then I explain the other part, that the final diminished run. There are many ways of playing. Another way, but I prefer the one I've shown before. Now, the part that I haven't shown how to do in the Paganini part is that if I do it with without a pick, right? So it's basically the same, but with more hammer-on and pull-offs. Now, there's another way that you can do it, where you, instead of doing so many hammer-ons and pull-offs, you can do it this way. So this is, I'm borrowing this technique from the Campanella, which is used in classical guitar to emulate like a harp and using open strings and things like that. But so basically, it's like cross stringing. You pick notes with different fingers of the right hand. So pull off, another pull off, and then there's a pull off. But then I do the F in here, I do the E in here, the D in here, the C in on the third, and then I go back to the B string for the G. So it's a bit awkward on the left hand, but the more you practice, then the better you get, of course. I'm not that good yet at it, but there's another possibility for you. So that's it, and then the end. I mean, the end is basically after the nothing different. If I have to do it again without a pick, I will just do it using this as a kind of a pick, because without it doesn't sound really good. So, etc. And then the final notes. I mean, bending to the E, bending to the F, and then I do a bending from the G. I search for the harmonic, the octave harmonic, and then I'm bending even further to get to the A. And that's never that. So yeah, that's it. Give it a try. It might work for you, it might not. I hope it helps somehow for you to find another way to play it, and yeah, have fun. I'm off now. Cheers.